Okay, listen, because what leaked in the last 48 hours is not a rumor, it is not blog noise, and it is not a fan theory somebody typed at 3 in the morning. This is a fully assembled, fully priced, 7-figure business package sitting on a table in front of Remy Ma, and the man who put it there is 50 Cent. $2 million. A G-Unit imprint with her name on the letterhead. Distribution through his machine. Creative control that Papoose never gave her in 20 years of marriage. And it landed, I want you to hear this carefully, it landed less than 72 hours after Papoose stood on a live broadcast and completely, publicly, irreversibly fumbled the ghostwriting story. He has been feeding this industry since before some of y'all were even old enough to buy a mixtape. That is not a coincidence. That is a chess move. And 50 Cent just took the queen off the board. Before I walk you through every receipt, every timestamp, and every phone call the internet is not telling you about, do me one small favor. Hit that like button, tap subscribe, and drop a comment telling me whether you think Papoose has any road back from this, because by the time we finish connecting the dots, I promise you the answer is going to feel very different than it did this morning. Now, let's get into it, because the story only gets uglier from here. Multiple industry sources, and I want to stress this, not gossip pages, not the usual weekend clickbait, but the same circles that called major label rollouts and release schedules weeks before they went public this year. Those same rooms are now saying that 50 Cent has formally extended a business proposal to Remy Ma. And insiders close to Remy say she is not brushing it off. She is genuinely weighing it. That right there is the sentence I want you to sit with, because in this industry, weighing it is the polite version of the paperwork is already being read out loud. Here is why this matters. When a source with a real batting average suddenly delivers a claim of this size, you cannot treat it like the 10th wild story of the week. Normally, I would tell you to slow down, wait for official confirmation, and don't spend your energy on a headline that hasn't been signed. But this is not one of those weeks. The people whispering this are the same people who told you exactly how certain rollouts were going to play out months in advance, and they were right. So when they open their mouths about Remy Ma and a G-Unit deal, you at least have to sit up. And the timing? The timing is what makes the whole industry lean forward. Because less than 3 days before this offer supposedly hit her table, Papoose was in front of a live camera, in front of a live audience, and his entire ghostwriting narrative, the one he has been running quietly for years, came apart in real time. And I mean apart. Not he had a bad day. Not he got caught slipping. I mean the story he has been selling since forever collapsed live in front of everybody, and the internet screen recorded every second of it. For years now, Papoose has stayed in the corner of the interview quietly suggesting, sometimes loudly suggesting, that he was a creative hand behind some of Remy Ma's biggest verses, her sharpest hooks, her most quoted flows. He never named a single record on the receipt. He never showed a session log. He never dropped a reference vocal. He just kept dropping the hint. And because Papoose has always had respect as a lyricist in his own lane, a lot of the culture gave him the benefit of the doubt. Not because there was proof, but because he sounded like he might be telling the truth. That benefit ended the moment he tried to prove it live. According to everyone who watched the broadcast, Papoose could not deliver. He fumbled through the lyrics he was supposedly claiming, lost his own rhythm on his own words, and could not recall the internal details that any actual writer of those songs would know without thinking. When the hosts pressed him, politely at first, then a little sharper, the answers only made it worse. Timelines didn't match old interviews. Studio dates didn't match what he'd said before. And the version of the story that had lived comfortably in the background for years suddenly had gaping holes in the middle of it. The clip went everywhere. Podcasts started dissecting it frame by frame. Longtime supporters started deleting old tweets. Even the people who used to nod along quietly began quietly stepping away. Because once a claim like ghostwriting collapses in front of a live audience, it does not come back. And every single person in the industry with a phone and a Rolodex saw the same thing at the same time, including 50 Cent. Now, if you have paid attention to 50 Cent for the last 25 years, you already know something the casual observer misses. Fif does not react to moments. Fif waits for moments. He watches an entire industry step on the same landmine, and when the smoke clears, he is the one standing next to the crater with a briefcase. Love him, hate him, argue with him on the timeline, his timing has never been the weak part of his game. It has been, honestly, the deadliest part of it. And Remy Ma just walked into a moment he has apparently been circling for years. Because, and this is where the tea gets thick, the idea of 50 Cent signing Remy Ma is not a fresh idea somebody invented yesterday to farm views. Tony Yayo, on record, in an interview years ago, publicly told 50 Cent that he needed to sign Remy Ma to G-Unit. That was not a fan tweet. That was not a stray blog headline. That was somebody inside the actual building saying it out loud, on camera, and then it sat there. For years. Like a bookmark. Waiting. That bookmark just got opened. According to the reports circulating right now, 50 Cent's legal team has prepared a formal package. A reported $2 million guarantee. A G-Unit imprint sitting under her name. Distribution through his network. And the part that should terrify Papoose more than anything else, significant creative freedom. Remy Ma, for the first time in a very long time, would answer to nobody in the studio except herself. Let that sink in for one full second. Because if you have followed this marriage from the outside, you already understand what that word, creative freedom, actually costs Papoose. It doesn't just cost him a business partner. It costs him a narrative. It costs him the version of the story where he is quietly the pen behind the throne. If Remy Ma walks into a G-Unit booth alone and delivers a record that sounds exactly like a Remy Ma record, nobody in the world will ever believe the ghostwriting claim again. Nobody. It is a career-ending sentence for the Papoose myth. And 50 Cent knows it. That is why this offer is not a music deal. It is a mercy killing dressed up as a music deal. Now, let me line up the dots for the people in the back, because when you actually string the timeline together, you start to realize this did not fall out of the sky. Look at how 50 Cent has been interacting with Remy Ma-related posts across the last several months. Not one interaction. Not two. A pattern. Look at how Tony Yayo has publicly floated the idea of Remy joining G-Unit for years, without ever being corrected by 50. Look at how Remy Ma herself has repeatedly, in her own words, on the record, talked about how much she appreciated the support 50 Cent gave her during the hardest chapter of her life, when she was locked up and fighting appeals. Individually, none of those moments mean anything. But you line them up next to each other, and it stops looking like coincidence and starts looking like a runway. Now add the ghostwriting collapse. Now add the $2 million offer. Now tell me what you see. Because from where I am sitting, that is not a rumor. That is a strategy that has been quietly cooking for a long time and just found the perfect week to boil over. And 50 Cent didn't miss the moment. He never misses the moment. But before you think this is only about business, let me pull the camera back a little further, because there is a much darker layer under all of this. This isn't only a check. This is a message. And the message is aimed directly at Papoose. Think about what a G-Unit signing actually does to the ghostwriting narrative in one move. Every time Papoose implied he had a hand in Remy Ma's biggest work, the debate at least stayed alive because there was no counterexample to point at. Now imagine Remy Ma steps into 50 Cent's ecosystem, cuts a record with completely different producers, completely different engineers, completely different rooms, and it still sounds like Remy Ma. It still hits like Remy Ma. It still lands like Remy Ma. What happens to the ghostwriter theory then? It doesn't just weaken. It becomes a punchline. A permanent, streaming forever, algorithm-recommended punchline. That is the outcome 50 Cent's team, according to insiders, has been quietly modeling behind closed doors. And that is why so many observers are calling this less a signing and more a public correction. Now, some of you are already typing in the comments, but is she really going to leave the situation she's in for this? I hear you. I really do. So let's talk about it honestly. There is a personal layer here that we can't pretend doesn't exist. This is a marriage that has been on public display for a very long time. If Remy Ma actually accepts a deal of this size from this camp, at this moment, the personal fallout is not a small footnote. It is the whole tabloid ecosystem lighting up at the same time. Whether that leads to new tension in her home, a new chapter in her career, or something the internet has not even seen coming yet, the spotlight is only going to get brighter from here. But, and this is the part that has flipped the entire conversation, if this same deal had appeared even 3 or 4 years ago, the headline would have been about her marriage. Today, the headline is about her freedom. That is a completely different story, and it is the story 50 Cent apparently once told. And here is where it gets really interesting, because a modern G-Unit deal is not a 2003 G-Unit deal. This is not one album, one photo shoot, and a bulletproof vest anymore. Over the last decade, 50 Cent has quietly built out an ecosystem that stretches from music into television, into streaming, into scripted drama, into branded partnerships, into networks that print entire shows around the personalities inside them. So a reported $2 million is not the ceiling of this offer. That is the door. Behind that door is a full media platform. And Remy Ma is not walking in as a rookie who needs to be developed. She walks in with the resume that fits it. She is one of the most technical writers in the female rap conversation, full stop. She has broadcast experience, television experience, red carpet experience, and this part is quietly the most valuable. She has a fan base that has stayed loyal through every wave of drama the past decade has thrown at her. If you plug that resume into a machine that already knows how to build headlines around personalities, you are not making an artist. You are making a franchise. And 50 Cent has done this before. That is why several people close to the situation are describing what is on the table as a partnership, not a paycheck. Now, let's talk about the man in the middle of all of this, because I know some of you are asking the fair question, what happens to Papoose? And I want to be honest with you here. His talent has never been the issue in any of this. Even the people watching him lose ground the past week will tell you he can rap. That is not the problem. The problem is perception. And in 2026, perception in hip-hop moves faster than truth ever could. The ghostwriting story had already become one of the biggest talking points attached to his name before the live broadcast. After the live broadcast, that story is no longer a whisper. It is the loudest thing in the room every time his name gets mentioned. Every old clip is being pulled back up. Every old interview is being run frame by frame. Every prior statement is being compared against every other prior statement. And by the time the internet is done stacking those receipts, the version of Papoose that walked into that broadcast is not the version that walks out. Meanwhile, on the other side of the same story, Remy Ma is allegedly being handed a career reset with 7 figures and a distribution deal attached. That is not a coincidence. That is what a shift in the balance of power actually looks like when it happens in real time. So the honest question becomes this, is there any move left on the board for Papoose that doesn't end badly? And when I really examine it, I don't see a clean one. If he congratulates her publicly, half the internet reads it as retreat. If he reopens the ghostwriting debate, he reopens the exact wound that just cost him his credibility. If he stays completely silent, the silence gets analyzed even harder than a statement would. There is no third door. There is no exit ramp. And that is what happens when you build a narrative that only holds up as long as nobody looks at it directly. 50 Cent just made the whole world look at it directly. Now, let's get into the biggest question of all, because I know it is the one you came here for. Will Remy Ma actually sign? According to the same sources feeding out the rest of the story, no final decision has been made. But they have also been very careful with their language. Nobody around her is saying no. Nobody is denying the offer exists. Nobody is dismissing it as fake news. That silence, in a business where silence is usually a strategy, means something. In this game, when a real denial doesn't come within 24 hours, that is usually the tell that the negotiation is real. The absence of a no is almost louder than a yes. And right now, the entire industry is listening to that absence. Meanwhile, the whispers around the G-Unit brand are getting louder for a different reason. Over the last several months, longtime G-Unit affiliates have been more visible, more active, and more publicly connected to 50 Cent than they have been in years. Something is being rebuilt. And observers who have been paying attention have consistently pointed out one specific gap in the current roster: the absence of a high-profile, credible, established female rapper with a real fan base behind her. Remy Ma fits that description more cleanly than any other artist available in the market right now. She checks every box. Reputation, track record, broadcast presence, audience loyalty, cultural respect. If G-Unit is genuinely rebuilding, she is the missing piece, and 50 Cent is not the type of businessman who leaves the missing piece sitting on somebody else's shelf. Now imagine the album cycle. Imagine the marketing. Imagine 50 Cent using the same headline instincts that turned Indie Club into a global moment, applied for the first time ever to a female rapper who already has 20 years of credibility on her name. Imagine what that first single rollout looks like. Imagine the podcast press run. Imagine the interviews with the same platforms that just watched Papoose stumble on live television. Imagine a comeback tour built around a story the entire culture has been chewing on for a month straight. That is not an album cycle. That is a cinematic event. And the algorithm will feast on it. And let me put one more piece on the board, because it is a piece nobody in the coverage this week has picked up yet. Remy Ma is not just any female MC in the market right now. She is a terror squad artist by history, and the Bronx built her before Papoose ever met her. That means the credibility she brings into a G-Unit imprint is not manufactured. It is not marketing. It is not something a label has to invent from scratch and hope the culture accepts. It is already there. It has been there since the early 2000s. And 50 Cent, more than anybody else running a label right now, knows exactly how much a real fan base is worth compared to a fabricated one. That is the difference between paying $2 million for a signing and paying $2 million for a moment. He is not paying her for potential. He is paying her for equity. Equity in her name, equity in her catalog, and equity in a story that already has the entire city of New York plugged into it emotionally. And once you understand that, the offer stops looking expensive and starts looking cheap. Because a $2 million guarantee for an artist who can walk into a room and generate a headline every 72 hours, in a business where headline velocity is the actual currency, is not a splurge. That is a bargain. Ask anybody who runs a media company in this era. You cannot buy that kind of built-in attention for that price. You can spend $50 million on a marketing rollout for a rookie and still not manufacture the level of organic interest Remy Ma generates by simply showing up to a red carpet. 50 Cent understands that math better than the people writing the checks at major labels do. He always has. That is why he built G-Unit into what it was in the first place, because he treated attention like a commodity when the rest of the industry was still treating it like a byproduct. Now multiply that instinct by 20 years of hindsight, and you understand why this move, if it goes through, is not just calculated. It is surgical. And meanwhile, while everybody is arguing about whether the offer is real, whether Remy signs, whether Papoose survives, there is a quieter question sitting in the background that nobody is asking loudly enough. What happens to the women's rap ecosystem if this signing actually lands? Because right now, there is a very particular structure to the way that lane operates. There are the artists at the top. There are the artists chasing the top. There are the veterans in legacy mode. And the assumption has always been that once you enter legacy mode, you don't come back to the front of the line. Remy Ma, if this deal is real, is about to disprove that assumption in the loudest, most public way possible. And that reshapes what every other female MC in her generation now believes is available to them. That is not a signing. That is a permission slip. And you cannot underestimate what it does to a genre when a veteran rewrites the ceiling in front of everybody. That is the ripple people should be watching. Because here is a truth people don't want to say out loud. 50 Cent isn't just buying an artist. He is buying a headline factory. Every appearance, every interview, every red carpet, every subliminal, every Instagram caption, all of it becomes content. All of it becomes clips. All of it becomes trending. He is not investing $2 million for the songs. He is investing $2 million for the story around the songs. And in this business, the story is worth 10 times the check. That is why some analysts are already calling this, if it becomes official, the biggest business move of 50 Cent's decade. Not because of the number on the paper, because of the timing behind the number. Now, some of you are going to push back. Some of you are going to say, this is speculation, and none of it has been confirmed by the parties involved. That is a fair point, and I want to give it the space it deserves. Until Remy Ma, 50 Cent, or someone with authority attached to G-Unit signs their name to a public statement, everything here is still living in the reporting stage. That is real. I am not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. But, and this is a big but, the same reporting stage produced the last 3 major industry moves you saw announced this year, and every one of them started exactly the way this one is starting. So when I say I am watching this closely, understand that watching this closely is code for I already believe the pieces are moving. Because they are. And once you accept that the pieces are moving, the next question is bigger than one artist and one deal. If Remy Ma actually walks into G-Unit under a partnership like this, the ripple effect is not small. Every veteran female rapper who has been sitting quietly on legacy status is suddenly going to look at what a reset actually looks like. Every New York artist watching from the sidelines is going to feel the temperature in the city change. Every label that ignored Remy Ma the last time she looked available is going to have to explain themselves in a boardroom on Monday morning. And every young female MC coming up right now is going to see, in real time, that a comeback in this genre is not a myth. It is a business strategy if the right person is behind it. That is why this story has stopped being a rumor and started being a case study. So let me ask you what I actually want to know, and I want you to answer me in the comments, because this is where the conversation becomes yours. Do you believe Remy Ma actually accepts this offer, or do you think she quietly turns it down to protect her marriage? Do you think the marriage even survives a headline this big, or has the damage from the ghostwriting broadcast already gone past the point of return? Do you think Papoose responds publicly, or does he go silent and let the news cycle bury him? And the biggest question of all, do you believe this is 50 Cent's biggest business move of the decade? Or do you think there is something even louder still sitting behind the curtain waiting for its moment? Drop your take. Argue with the person above you. Tell me why I am wrong. Tell me why I am right. Because the next 48 hours in this story are going to move faster than the last 48, and I want to know exactly where you stand before the next headline drops. And listen, if you made it this far, thank you for real. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the second Remy Ma, 50 Cent, or Papoose says a single word publicly about any of this, we are back on it immediately. One last thing before you scroll away. If you thought the $2 million offer was the wildest twist in this story, you are not ready for what people are saying about a private conversation involving Tony Yayo that just resurfaced this week. According to the people whispering behind the scenes, G-Unit has apparently been quietly modeling this exact move for a lot longer than anyone was told. Which means the ghostwriting collapse on that live broadcast may not have been what started this at all. It may have simply been the excuse that let a plan already in motion finally step into the light. That is the video sitting right on your screen, and I promise you, the moment you watch it, the entire timeline reads differently. Click it. Because you have not heard the half of it yet.